Welcome to the Chronicles of Darkness. Tonight, you'll hear a story that could happen to anyone. A lonely taxi driver, a quiet night, and a passenger who isn't what he seems. Get ready, the night is only beginning. The city at night is never silent. People think it is, but that's only because they don't listen the way a driver does. After years behind the wheel, your ears pick up the little things, the hum of electricity in the power lines, the occasional flutter of wings when a bird cuts through the darkness, the metallic echo of a loose street sign swaying in the wind. You notice things most people don't. Because when the night grows long, and the passengers stop talking, all you have left is the sound of the world itself. That night, I was tired. My body was sore from sitting too long, but the bills didn't care. Rent was coming. The meter had to keep ticking. So I kept driving. The cab smelled faintly of gasoline, even though I'd cleaned it that afternoon. A taxi never truly smells clean, no matter how much you scrub. Leather absorbs everything: sweat, smoke, spilled drinks, the city itself. That smell becomes a part of you. I checked the time. 1:28 a.m. The hour when the streets don't just get quiet, they get different. I've always felt like there's a change in the air around that time. Like the city holds its breath. The app chimed. New request. I glanced down. Pickup, Riverside Boulevard. Destination, unknown. Unknown? I frowned. That wasn't normal. The app always listed at least a neighborhood or a street name. But sometimes glitches happened. And anyway, I wasn't about to decline a ride at this hour. A fare's a fare. I tapped accept. The map flickered strangely, as if it didn't quite know how to load. Just a spinning arrow. I rubbed my eyes and shrugged it off. Maybe the connection was weak. With a sigh, I turned the wheel and headed toward Riverside. The roads were nearly empty now. A few cars sat parked along the curb, glistening under street lamps. The pavement was still damp from a late shower, making the whole street shimmer like glass. My headlights sliced through the fog in long, pale beams. The wipers squeaked across the windshield in a slow rhythm: scrape, pause, scrape. I drove through intersections where the lights blinked yellow endlessly, warning nobody. I passed storefronts with their metal shutters pulled down, graffiti curling across them like scars. And then I saw him. A figure standing under a lonely streetlight on Riverside. He was tall. Taller than me, at least. Shoulders broad beneath a long dark coat that brushed just above his shoes. A wide-brimmed hat tilted down, hiding most of his face. He didn't fidget. Didn't shift his weight. Just stood there. Waiting. Even from a distance, something about him made the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. Most people at 1:30 in the morning pace nervously, checking their phones. They wave frantically the moment they see a cab. Not this guy. I slowed, pulling the taxi to the curb. The passenger opened the rear door without a word. The hinges creaked slightly. He slid into the back seat with a smoothness that felt rehearsed, almost unnatural, and shut the door with a soft click. The cab dipped under his weight. For a second, I considered saying nothing. Just drive, drop him, and move on. But my mouth worked before my brain did. Good evening, I said, trying to sound casual. The man said nothing. I cleared my throat. Where to? He leaned forward slightly, just enough that I could sense the weight of his presence behind me. His voice was low, calm, too calm. Drive. I frowned. Drive where? Just drive. Now, I'd had strange passengers before. Drunks, lovers fighting, tourists who couldn't pronounce the names of the streets. But this man wasn't like that. He wasn't slurring his words. He wasn't confused. He was deliberate. And his silence wasn't the silence of shyness, it was the silence of someone who already knew how the night was going to unfold. Something in me wanted to argue, to insist on an address. But instead, I nodded, put the car in gear, and rolled away from the curb. The city drifted past. The glow of neon signs. The dull blur of passing buildings. But inside the cab, it was suffocatingly quiet. I glanced at the rearview mirror. Shadows swallowed his face. Every time the light from a street lamp flickered through, it caught only fragments, an outline of a jaw, a flash of pale skin, the brim of that hat. Never the whole picture. I hated how uneasy it made me. Finally, I forced a laugh, breaking the silence. Long night, huh? The man exhaled slowly. Not quite a sigh. Not quite a breath. Just something. Then he spoke. You see a lot of things, don't you? I shifted uncomfortably. I guess. Driving nights, you meet all kinds of people. His voice sharpened slightly. People. He let the word hang in the air. Then, after a pause. Not all of them alive. My fingers tightened on the steering wheel. A nervous chuckle escaped me. You mean, like, people dead tired, right? Yeah. I've picked up some zombies at this hour. No, his voice was cold. Flat. Not tired. Dead. A shiver ran down my spine. The air inside the cab grew heavier. Colder. I reached for the heater dial, pretending not to notice. My fingers trembled as I turned the knob. The man leaned closer. I could feel his breath near my ear. It wasn't warm. Do you know what it means, he whispered, when your app says destination, unknown? My mouth went dry. No, what does it mean? He leaned back, sinking into the shadows once more. You'll see. I gripped the wheel tighter. I wanted to end the ride right there, tell him to get out. But something stopped me. Not fear exactly, more like the sensation that the car wasn't mine anymore. Like the ride itself was pulling me forward. Street after street rolled by. And then I noticed the streetlights. Each one flickered out as we passed, plunging the road behind us into darkness. The GPS on my phone glitched. The arrow spun in circles, the roads vanished, leaving only a blank void on the screen. What the hell, I muttered, tapping it. No response. Just static. I looked back at the mirror. For the first time, I thought I saw his face. Pale. Unnaturally pale. His eyes, wrong. Black where there should have been white. Empty, like the reflection of a bottomless pit. I blinked hard. And just like that, he was nothing but shadow again. My heart hammered against my ribs. Turn here, he commanded suddenly. His voice was sharp, slicing through the silence. I glanced out the windshield. There's no road. Turn. Against my own will, my hands twisted the wheel. The car lurched off the paved street, tires crunching onto gravel. Headlights cut through heavy fog. And ahead, a road stretched into the trees. A road I swear hadn't been there seconds before. The forest rose around us. Tall, skeletal trunks clawing at the sky. Branches intertwined overhead, blocking the moonlight. The smell of earth and rot seeped into the cab. My chest tightened with every breath. I swallowed hard. Where are we? The man finally answered. His voice low, calm, and chilling. Closer. The forest closed around us like jaws. Branches stretched overhead, clawing at the roof of the cab, scraping against the windows with shrill squeals. The fog thickened until it looked like smoke, rolling in slow curls across the ground. The paved streets of the city were gone, erased from existence. All that remained was a dirt path, winding through black trees that looked too tall, too thin, too endless. The passenger sat silent in the back. But his silence wasn't empty, it filled the car like a presence, heavier than the sound of my own breathing. I gripped the wheel tighter. "This isn't a road," I muttered, as much to myself as to him. "Yes," he said softly. "It is." His calmness made me feel even worse. Like he wasn't surprised. Like this was the only road he'd meant for us to take all along. The tires crunched over loose gravel, the sound echoing unnaturally loud in the stillness. No crickets. No night birds. Not even the wind. Just the car. Just us. I checked the mirror again. His face was still hidden beneath the brim of that hat. Only a pale jawline caught the glow of my dashboard lights. My pulse pounded in my ears. And then I noticed something strange. The meter. The digits weren't counting up in dollars anymore. They were counting backward. 00:19:58. 00:19:57. 00:19:56. My throat tightened. It wasn't money. It was a timer. "What the hell is this?" I whispered, tapping the screen. The man leaned forward slightly, his voice low. "Your time." My mouth went dry. Time for what? He didn't answer. He leaned back again, melting into shadow. The road narrowed, trees pressing closer until their branches brushed against the sides of the cab like skeletal fingers. My headlights struggled against the fog, showing only a few yards ahead. And then, through the mist, something appeared. A bridge. Wooden. Old. The kind of bridge you see in pictures from centuries ago, the planks warped and rotting, ropes strung together like veins. It stretched over a black expanse I couldn't see the bottom of. The fog swirled below, thick and alive, like it was hiding something. I slowed the car. My gut screamed at me not to go forward. The man spoke sharply. "Drive." My knuckles whitened against the wheel. "That bridge doesn't look safe." "Drive." There was no room to turn around. The trees had closed in behind us, branches weaving together like a cage. My only way was forward. The tires rolled onto the bridge. The wooden planks groaned under the weight of the cab. The whole structure swayed slightly, ropes creaking, the sound echoing into the abyss below. My breath came shallow, chest tight. I stared straight ahead, hands trembling. "Where does this lead?" The passenger's reply was instant. "Where it always does." Halfway across the bridge, I heard it. At first, just faint. A whisper. But it wasn't words. It was like the creak of the planks had turned into voices. Dozens of them. Layered. Murmuring. I swallowed hard and kept my eyes fixed on the road. The voices grew louder. Clearer. And then I realized, they were calling my name. Not once. Not twice. Over and over. My name, whispered in hundreds of overlapping tones. Male. Female. Young. Old. Every hair on my body stood on end. I slammed my hand over the radio, thinking maybe it was some insane signal. But the radio was off. Completely dark. The voices weren't coming from the speakers. They were coming from beneath the bridge. I pressed the accelerator harder, desperate to get across. The cab lurched forward. The planks moaned louder, the ropes strained, the whole bridge shuddering like it might collapse. And then I saw movement. Shapes. Through the fog below, pale arms reached upward. Dozens. Hundreds. Twisting, clawing, writhing. As if something buried in the depths was trying to drag itself up to the surface. Hands without bodies. They scraped against the underside of the bridge, fingernails raking the wood, sending splinters showering down. The sound made my teeth ache. The car shook violently. My chest seized with terror. What the hell is this? I shouted. The passenger finally moved. He leaned forward, voice calm, almost amused. They want you. The timer on the meter ticked down faster. 00:14:32. 00:14:31. 00:14:30. I slammed my foot down. The engine roared. The bridge rattled and swayed as the car sped forward, every plank groaning like it would give way beneath us. The whispers rose into screams. My name, shouted in hundreds of overlapping voices, echoing through the abyss. Shut up! I screamed, gripping the wheel so hard my knuckles cracked. But the voices only grew louder. Suddenly, crack! The front right wheel punched through a plank. The car lurched violently, the frame tilting toward the abyss. My chest slammed against the wheel, air bursting from my lungs. Below us, the pale hands clawed higher, reaching through the broken plank, grasping at the tire, the undercarriage, the air itself. Fingers brushed against the car. Against me. I screamed, slamming the gearshift, wrenching the wheel, flooring the accelerator. The cab roared forward, yanking free from the hands, wood splintering beneath us. The bridge shook violently, ropes snapping one by one. And then, finally, the tires hit solid ground. We burst off the bridge, the car bouncing onto dirt. I slammed the brakes, chest heaving, sweat dripping down my forehead. The bridge behind us groaned, then collapsed completely into the abyss. The sound echoed endlessly. But the voices didn't stop. Even with the bridge gone, I could still hear them. Faint. Whispering my name. From inside the cab. I twisted around, eyes wide, heart hammering. The back seat was empty. My breath froze. The door hadn't opened. I hadn't heard it. But he was gone. The seatbelt strap swayed slightly, as if someone had just released it. And then, from the shadows, his voice whispered, right next to my ear. Closer. I couldn't move. The whisper still lingered against my ear, curling inside my skull like smoke. Closer. But the back seat was empty. Completely empty. I twisted the wheel with shaking hands, throwing the cab door open and stumbling out into the cold night. My breath plumed in white clouds as the fog swirled around me, thicker than ever, crawling into my lungs, stinging my eyes. The bridge was gone. The road behind me was gone. When I looked back, there was no sign of the collapse, just endless forest. Like the bridge had never been there. I turned back toward the cab. And froze. He was sitting in the driver's seat. The man in the hat. His pale hands resting casually on the wheel, his head tilted ever so slightly, like he was mocking me. I staggered backward, heart hammering against my ribs. No, 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 no. The passenger smiled, finally letting me see his teeth. They were too many. Too sharp. You shouldn't have stopped. His voice was smooth. Calm. Like a teacher correcting a student. I couldn't breathe. My chest locked up. I stumbled backward until my shoulder hit a tree, bark scraping my skin. How did you? My voice cracked. His eyes flicked toward me, and I saw them clearly for the first time. They weren't human. They were black. Not just dark, but infinite. Like pits leading into forever. He pushed open the driver's door and stepped out, his movements slow, deliberate. The fog seemed to retreat from him as though even it was afraid. I bolted. My shoes pounded against the dirt road, every breath tearing through my chest. Branches whipped across my face. My lungs burned, but I didn't care. I didn't look back. Not until I heard it. Footsteps. Not running. Walking. but somehow, always close. I glanced over my shoulder, terror screaming through me. He was there. Just a few feet behind. Walking calmly. His long coat brushing against the ground, untouched by dirt or branches, his hat low over his face. No matter how fast I ran, he never fell behind. Like the road itself was folding to bring me back to him. I tripped over a root, slamming hard into the ground. My palms tore against gravel, blood smearing across my skin. Pain shot up my arm, but I scrambled to my feet, stumbling forward. And then I saw it. Headlights. Far down the road. Bright. White. A car. I screamed. Hey! Hey, stop! My voice cracked with desperation. The lights drew closer. A familiar hum filled the air. I froze. It was my cab. The same dent in the bumper. The same scratched paint on the side door. And behind the wheel, me. My own face. Wide-eyed. Terrified. Driving straight toward me. I stumbled into the ditch as the cab roared past, wind tearing at my clothes. My own reflection's eyes locked with mine for a split second before the car vanished into the fog. I pressed my hands to my face, shaking. No, 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 no. The footsteps came again. Slow. Steady. Closer. I turned. The passenger stood at the edge of the ditch, staring down at me. You see it now, he said softly. You see where this road leads. Thank you for listening until the end. If you enjoyed this story, please give it a like and subscribe to Chronicles of Darkness. More chilling stories are coming soon.